Love. Love is the energy that drives our world. It is the most talked and written about subject and establishes itself at the core of our purpose for living. It is no surprise then that this is the most well-known energy center. This chakra glistens with our highest loving hopes and also understands our deepest sorrows. In the summer of 2022, I visited the planetary power place said to be the world's fourth chakra location. I began my journey by sitting down to discuss the basic properties of the heart chakra.
Dr. Tracey Ulshafer, and I'm here in Glastonbury, England, at a very special power place on the planet. I couldn't be more thrilled to be here, and I definitely feel it's the appropriate place to talk about the Earth's fourth chakra. In Sanskrit, the language of yoga, the word for the fourth chakra is Anahata. Anahata means unbeaten, unstruck. It is a well of deep, loving energy. The location of this chakra is here at the heart center or cardiac plexus, right at the center. And you can envision it as being at the center of the body from top to bottom, back to front, and side to side. The properties of this chakra include love, balance, compassion. It's a chakra that references the right to love and be loved. It is all about self-acceptance, acceptance of all, non-judgment, and pure energy. The sound of this chakra is said to be that of Yam, Y-A-M. So if you chant the mantra Yam and focus on your heart center, you should feel that vibration. Yam. Yam. The element associated with the heart chakra is air. The qualities of air are that it is mobile, dry. It can be cold. It can be subtle. Wind, air, vayu is the word for those things in Sanskrit. Sometimes there's a stillness and it doesn't feel like there's any air. And in that moment, you almost feel like you can't breathe. There's no capacity to breathe. Breath becomes laborious. And then there's the cooling breeze. And when that cooling breeze is blowing through, it feels gorgeous, right? You go, oh, I can take a breath again. And I feel more spacious and expansive. And then there's those gusts and those really big winds that come, and they can be a little disastrous almost. They'll take your breath away again. So even with the element air, there has to be this balance of that energy. You want to feel the air. You want to feel the air within you, but you don't want to blow anyone else over with your exhale and what you're releasing into the planet. So I want to read to you some qualities of a balanced fourth chakra from Anahata Judith, who wrote Eastern Body, Western Mind. And she says that a balanced fourth chakra is compassionate, loving, empathetic, self-loving, altruistic, peaceful, balanced, has a good immune system. My question is always, where is your fourth chakra? If you do that quick assessment, are you balanced? Are you compassionate? Are you loving? And again, self and others, this is a two-way street. Are you peaceful? Are you balanced? Where you're not balanced? Is your immune system good? Are you really healthy, taking care of yourself? It's associated with the two primary organs, one being the heart. I mean, the heart is so important. It's synonymous with love and loving energy. You can't be alive without a heartbeat. And it's also associated with the lungs, right? You can't be alive without a breath, right? So breath and heart, those two things are so necessary. Otherwise, a lot of spiritual teachers say, and yogic teachers will say, let's start with the heart. Let's focus on the heart center. Let's breathe into the heart. Yogic breathing is a beautiful way to keep your lungs very healthy and oxygenating every cell in your body constantly. So it's like breathing in love constantly when you're doing yogic breathing. There's a mantra for the heart chakra. I love. You don't have to put anything before or after that. Just I love. I love, I love, I love. I love, I love, I love. And just walk around singing I love. Just singing I love, I love, I love. Taking personal accountability for love and loving energy. Christ consciousness is a term that's used for really all different people, all traditions. It's not only for Christians, but anybody can connect to Christ consciousness. It's associated with God realization. So one sees the Christ or self in a moment of illumination, that you're able to sit in the self in a way that it reaches your spiritual heart center. In Hinduism and in yogic practices, we talk about the 7 chakras because that's mostly what has been written about. The 4th chakra in the human body is the one in the middle. So it's the one where the lower chakras and the upper chakras come and meet at that center. And again, we have this movement of energy up, we have this movement of energy down, and it meets at the heart. It continues to ascend and descend, and then it comes back down, meets at the heart, continues to ascend and descend. And it's this kind of continual and cyclical, concentric cyclical patterns, and it continues. So is there a connection between the heart chakra and the 7th chakra, the heart chakra and the earth star chakra, heart chakra? And there's a connection with the heart chakra and all the chakras. They're all so connected. So Anahata chakra, it's the way. Love is the way. Love is the key. And love is all you need. Beatles told us that a long time ago. So let's work on healing, love, love, love. 4th chakra. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the documentary.
Just like the many dimensions that exist within the depths of our heart, Mother Earth's 4th chakra location possesses many of her own. So many, in fact, it is often difficult to determine fact from fiction. But what I really wanted to understand is if any true healing could occur there. What I found was most certainly extraordinary, and due to the many layers that came up, it took nearly a year to begin to share it with the world. Many years ago, across the pond in the English countryside existed a fairy tale-like land known as the Isle of Avalon. Known as the Isle of Apples or Isle of Glass, this land was once an island surrounded by tidal waters. Eventually, The waters receded and the area became known as the Avalon Marshes. In 1892, the first major settlement here was named Glastonbury Lake Village, and then eventually shortened to simply Glastonbury. We know from the work of both scientists like Alfred Watkins, visionaries such as Robert Kuhn, and current-day geologists like Rory McDuff, that energy pathways exist in our planet. When multiple ley lines converge or intersect, we have what Kuhn coined as a planetary chakra. Here in Britain, we find the most well-known of them, the St. Michael Ley, named after Archangel Michael by Watkins due to the many sites in his name along the path. St. Michael's Ley crisscrosses with several others at a very precise point. Glastonbury and its surrounding areas are commonly known as the epicenter of the world's heart chakra. Here, in a land known as Avalon, myths and legend, sacred masculine and sacred feminine, Druid temples and Christian churches, and thousands of other dualistic energies converge together in an attempt to harmonize and find balance. From a spot situated directly between the ancient red and white springs, I talked to Manon Trump, sacred tour guide and earth priestess, about the energy of the heart chakra of Glastonbury and love.
I can't say enough about this beautiful town, even though I've only been here 2 days. It feels very comfortable, very much like home. Would you mind telling people your name and your connection here to Glastonbury?
Sure, yeah. Well, my name is Manon Trump. I'm an earth priestess. I mean, that's what I call myself. And I have been coming to this town from 2002. And I've lived here as well from 2012 to 2020. And I've always done sacred tours, guiding people around to the sacred sites of Glastonbury, also outside of Glastonbury, Stonehenge, Avebury, Cornwall, Tintagel. There's so many sacred sites around here. It's amazing. And yes, so I'm very much connected to this town. Even though I'm now back in the Netherlands, I do come as often as I can, and I still organize my tours and I organize other things. And I'm in the organizing teams of the Goddess Conference and the Shamanic Gathering UK here as well. So there's lots still tying me into this place. It will never let me go, I'm quite sure. Yeah.
When was the first time you came here?
This was in 2002, and a friend of mine told me about this place, and she said she was going to do the Priestess of Avalon training. And that sounded all very mysterious and mystical, and I thought, sounds good to me, I'd love to have a look at least at this place and see what it's like.
Yeah.
So I came along on one of her weekends, training weekends, and it was like you say, it was a homecoming. I was in the bus, I saw the tour, and I felt this incredible peace. And this incredible, it seems to be that I'm unconditionally accepted here for who I am. And it was really homecoming. And I was like, wow, it was such a nice feeling to have. Because up until that time, I did not realize is that I had to kind of guard parts of myself in society that I couldn't really show because people were going to say something about it, or I don't know, it just didn't feel safe enough to do that.
Right.
And you come here and you're like, oh, I can just, it's accepted. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole vibe of this energy here. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly walking around, I've noticed the whole town has a deep spiritual component to it.
Yes.
So obviously many people are called to come here.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned
your tours to different sacred sites. So
Yeah.
the documentary is about these earth chakras, these power places, these
Yeah.
vortexes of energy,
Yeah.
and this, I mean, this area, Glastonbury, is one of the biggest to talk about. So,
Yes.
when you learned about this being on some major ley lines or earth chakra points, how did that resonate with you?
It was kind of a confirmation, of that energy that I was experiencing. I mean, I found out that underneath the tour, I think it's more than 15 or 16 ley lines cross, and that's such an immense vortex energy that I understood immediately why this energy is what it is, and that it kind of involves the whole town, really. And so it was just a confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's, as you said, there's this unconditional acceptance of whatever your
Yes.
path is.
Yes. Yes.
Just to openly, freely explore that. I think, and as we're talking about, this is the heart center. So as long as you're coming from here,
Yes.
it's authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's very well appreciated and honored.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say enough about it in just 2 days. I can't imagine what living here is like.
It's not the, I mean, it sounds all beautiful, obviously, but it is also known that this energy, we call it the Avalon energy, that's what we call it, also is a mirror. So
Right.
you do encounter the challenges of your shadow sides, and they can be quite intense here.
Yes.
Like the light is here quite intense, but also the dark is quite intense. So it's not for everybody, I say. Sometimes, sometimes people come in and then they go away again because so many things happen to them that they can't really, take it all in. And so yeah, I've had my ups and downs here too, So,
Sure.
And that's also what it does. It brings you back to your essential being, that, like you say, that it makes sure you do come from the heart.
Right.
Because we are so conditioned to also, think and act from the mind. So when you come here, it's going to mirror that. And it's also going to mirror some of your fears.
Yes.
And deep fears.
Mm-hmm.
And they will come out. And it's not always nice, I can tell you. Yeah.
Glastonbury's many mystical connections to the heart seem to fit together like the many feathers that make up a wing of a bird. At first, they may appear as separate items, but upon closer examination, we soon realize how they all become one whole. The first written reference to the Isle of Avalon can be found in Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the Kings of Britain, written in 1140. Here he describes Avalon as a place where the mortally wounded King Arthur was carried. We have also come to know Avalon as the place where Arthur's famous sword Excalibur was created, his trusted advisor, the wizard Merlin, resided, and where tales of romance, chivalry, and true love reigned supreme. For surely the love of Arthur to his beloved Guinevere is a love story for the ages. They lived their fairy tale life in the Castle Camelot, said to actually be Cadbury Castle, which sits 11 miles south of Glastonbury, and where archaeological evidence suggests that a powerful unifying leader once lived. In 1191, an excavation of Glastonbury Abbey turned up a grave south of the Mary Chapel, where the monks supposedly found a lead cross below a stone inscribed, "Here lies King Arthur, buried in the Isle of Avalon." Found in this grave was the skeleton of a tall man with a woman whose golden hair endured. Although the story of King Arthur is questioned as legend by historians, the dates attributed to his reign, 450 to 540 AD, are the time frame when a reigning king in these parts would have most certainly been buried here at Glastonbury Abbey. Shall we ever know for sure if what we now call Glastonbury was King Arthur's home? Perhaps we may never know the truth, but I can share with you that there is a deep well of pure loving energy in Glastonbury that calls people towards it and seems to carry you in its presence. Within the many volumes of literature written about King Arthur, we find the most well-known, that of the quest for the Holy Grail. To most, the Holy Grail is a reference to the chalice used at the Last Supper, and also to catch the blood of Christ from his time fastened to the cross. For a Christian, one's devotion to Jesus Christ is paramount, and for Christ himself, as with King Arthur, devotion to and complete love for God was behind his every breath. The number of links to Jesus Christ and Glastonbury are, frankly, astounding. And as I followed them, I came to understand the whole story of the Grail as so much more as well. It is known that Joseph of Arimathea, a trader and uncle to Jesus, made several voyages to Cornwall, England, where he traded with the tin miners. It is also believed that on at least one of his voyages, his famous nephew came along on the journey. Accounts of this accompaniment come from many, including poet William Blake and St. Patrick. Did the feet of Jesus Christ touch Glastonbury? History may have a question mark, but from a visiting non-Christian, I can tell you that during my trip I felt a most powerful connection to Jesus, especially during a visit to the Chalice well, which I shall describe more later. It's said that Joseph of Arimathea returned to England in 63 AD as a Christian missionary with 12 monks and quite possibly Mother Mary from the Holy Land. He paused and planted his staff at Werley Hill, where it is said to have miraculously rooted and blossomed, thereby revealing the location of the first Christian church. The first church was located on the plot of land now inhabited by the Glastonbury Abbey, which became the richest monastery in all of England around 1086 AD. The original church, however, simply known as the Old Church, exists still in the remains of the Lady Chapel dedicated to St. Mary, who legend has spent her last years in Glastonbury, was buried there along with the Holy Grail by Joseph. Today, there is a quite serene and calming feeling walking amongst the ruins of the Abbey. I found myself being guided where to walk and where to sit by following a path of white feathers, a common sign of angels. They seemed to line the path for me throughout the ancient church grounds. From the fascinating architecture to the knowledge of its rich history, I felt called to sit, to contemplate, and to pray. Interestingly, there are many who believe that King Arthur and Jesus Christ are the same being. Certainly, many components of the story can be shown that prove this theory. I spoke with shamanic practitioner and Glastonbury resident Kat Palace about this connection while in Glastonbury.
So if you look at the sort of local legends and lore, there is a prophecy about return of Arthur King Arthur, the mythical King
I
Arthur.
read that somewhere, but please remind me. I don't
Well,
remember.
they say that King Arthur never died, like he's only resting
Yes.
here, he's sleeping here, and when the new golden age, which is the ascension, the evolution, the new era, the new
Yes.
sun that is opening up, when that happens, when Glastonbury becomes island again, that happens.
Right.
And maybe, maybe we're lucky, maybe it happens in our lifetime and we get to see this, I don't know.
We are living at a very profoundly and significant time. I think
Yeah.
you said that earlier.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it really is. It really is the most important reincarnation that we have, and we got to do our work. So we are here to, follow every clue and follow every guidance, and
there's no more time for playing small.
There's no more time.
Now is the time to step into your truth and your vastness and get to it, because
give up the comforts,
Yeah.
and just know that you are provided for,
Right,
and know
right.
that the means will show up.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that part of what we're all in this process of what we're calling ascension is really to embody this on earth, to flip over reality systems from duality to oneness. It's what every tradition has always talked about. It is, I'm assuming, what Avalon is about. It's this place where we all long to be, and so it's time for us to get with it in whatever way that's showing up for us. And some of us are a guide, and some of us are here to do
Various
the pieces of the work, or to awaken others, or there's all the roles that's playing out.
Another story says that when Joseph of Arimathea buried the Holy Grail in Chalice Hill, it caused both the red and white springs to flow out. Although the red spring, which flows from Chalice Hill, releases 25,000 gallons of water daily, it is said that it has never failed. The waters of the red spring now flow down to the beautiful Chalice Gardens that have been managed by a trust since 1959. Although the red spring represents the blood of Christ, it is also known to be an analogy of the divine feminine, symbolizing menses. The famous symbol that sits on the lid to the actual well is the vesica piscis, two interlocking circles representing the blending of spirit and matter. Some say the vesica piscis represents the female and fertility, as the middle of the two interlocking circles can be seen as a vulva. This symbol is a sacred geometry said to contain the secrets of the universe. We find more balanced energies when we consider the white spring that pours from the famous Glastonbury tour and sits just across the street from Chalice Hill. The white spring is said to be a representation of the divine masculine in the form of the sweat of Christ, also brought by Joseph in a flask to Glastonbury. White also represents male semen. Considering the feminine and male fluids, we find a balance of male and female, of sexual powers, of divine feminine and divine masculine, of Christ and the Magdalene.
There's even these stories about, obviously how Glastonbury was set up by Joseph of Arimathea. Well, it wasn't really set up by Joseph of Arimathea, but how Joseph of Arimathea came here as a wealthy trader from Far East to go to the tin mines in Cornwall. And when he came to Glastonbury, he came on the Weary-all Hill, which is why it's called Weary-all Hill, and planted his staff, which then bloomed and is sadly being vandalized. But the holy thorn that was there it is of a variety that only grows in the Levant, and it only happens in Glastonbury. It blooms twice a year around Christmas and in the spring when it's supposed to bloom, where it blooms everywhere else. So that is quite a special thing, really, you know.
It's so funny. I'm not Christian, but there are times when I get such a strong validation when something like this is talked about, and I just had, as you were talking about that, a whole physical sensation.
If you think about the story of the Holy Family and the beginning of Christianity, I think the teachings that we know are so distorted that we will consciously or unconsciously realize that that is the case. So we will move away from that. But what was in the root might have been very, very pure, and might have been something that very much encourages this direct communion with God, source, whatever you want to call that.
I think if there is a connection with Christianity here, it is that pureness of the teachings.
Exactly.
It's not, okay, the first Christian church
was set up here,
but it's the origin of the energy behind Christ's teachings, which was unconditional love and reciprocity and healing. And
they had teachings of reincarnation, and you know, all that was part of the original, and which was then removed because it wasn't suited for.
And depending on if, you know, again, how you feel about like the different Gnostic scriptures, that Mary Magdalene was a priestess that worked alongside of Christ. And
yes, she definitely was. She and the other Marys and Sarah, they left the Holy Land and went to south of France. They arrived in a place called Sainte Marie de la Mer, which still venerates these saints every year in the May time. They just had, I think it's 23rd of May, around that time. Don't quote me on the date. But they take the relics out in a church. I watched it actually this year. I watched it on Facebook Live, you know. So the relics are descended from the church, and then they venerate the relics. They go to the ocean, you know, where the boat came. And it's clear that Mary Magdalene had her. She was the one that carried on the work of that ministry after Joshua, you know. Went to India, wherever he went. Then she had the ministry in south of France, and then the Cathars, who were a sect, they talk about the Book of Love, which is the original teachings of the Christ. And then the Cathars were persecuted very heavily, you know, and you know, the Albigensian crusade came, and they were basically slaughtered in a really absolutely atrocious act. And this could be a really, really long conversation about good and evil, or are there forces here that are against humans, that are against the evolution and ascension? There definitely are, and they know exactly what they are doing. You know, back in those days, slaughtering these very innocent, pure people who were living like ascetic, mystic lives, you know, and were bothering no one. That was done totally on purpose, you know.
My experience of Glastonbury is quite that. It does fill you. And it also has the power to accelerate a healing, particularly of the heart chakra.
Just sort of like also forgiveness for the person that I was in that life who thought that was the honorable and right thing to do, and it really wasn't. So
it's interesting that you said forgiveness, because that was a big thing yesterday for me. I went through a big process of working through self-forgiveness, forgiving myself for all kinds of past transgressions, and I didn't see anything as a past life. I just happened to be sitting across at the Chalice Gardens, and it felt very overwhelming, this presence of, I don't even know what, it came over me that I needed to hold some kind of accountability for what I'd done, who I'd hurt in the past, including myself. And I went through a very long process of that and just sobbing and sitting there.
That's a beautiful, beautiful healing, because once you can sort of sit there and be present with those memories and those energies, is that brings that resolution. And when that energy has been resolved, then more and more of your own life force is available to you. And I really believe that we are in this evolutionary, ascensionary process. We need all the energy we have. You need everything. So you have to, one of our jobs as a human being, or as a being that is embodied in a human, reincarnation, we need to recover from this life, from past lives, wherever we've lost some of our life force. We need to literally go out and try to retrieve it, because that is the fuel, that is the more whole, it's literally the wholeness, it's literally pulling all of yourself into your vehicle.
And maybe that's why I was so light yesterday and so energized. I walked back up to the tour again
without any problems.
I mean, yes,
it's quite hard work.
The first day was a little laborious, but it was 100 degrees or whatever in the middle of the day.
Hope you had water.
I did, from the White Spring. I was drinking, and then yesterday it just felt like a walk. I mean,
A pulse of the land, a heartbeat, a breeze only felt here in the garden. Sitting under sacred yew trees where it's felt to be, something deep within me draws up the question, what is love? I envision a doorway with a vaulted archway, a long hallway that feels like a birthing canal. Light energy surrounds the doorway. The question pops up, is my heart open? This seems to be the key to unlocking the door. I remind myself I'm not a Christian. But I am a Christian. Not in a traditional way, but in the true church. The Holy Grail is in each of our hearts. So we can fill the cup with love, or we can keep longing and searching for it outside of ourselves, like the fabled golden cup. Being Christian is being Christ-like, ministering love and forgiveness, especially to those hardest to forgive, including oneself. Tears. I can release the heaviness and burdens of my heart. I can release feelings of separateness. I allow myself to let go of anything causing pain and suffering in my heart. I release ego. I step into true love. I step into my heart. I step into Christ consciousness. I feel lighter, like the white and gray feather I found on the ground between the two yew trees. There's dark within the light, but there's much light within the dark too. The light lifts the heaviness of the dark. Focus here, for here is the Grail. With the many links to Jesus Christ and the Divine Masculine in Glastonbury as the World Heart Chakra, always seeking balance, it's of no surprise that we find significant connections here also to the Divine Feminine. We have already spoken of some, but it feels necessary to also discuss the others.
I feel also this balance of energy here. We talked about the Divine Feminine. She's she's big, and maybe in a lot of places she's not. But also there's the divine masculine. There's a very deep balance of both.
Yes, there is. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that, because many, especially women, come here to get in touch with their divine feminine, really. And there's a big goddess community here.
Right.
Very, very. And I remember in the older days when I was here in the beginning, kind of 20 years ago, in the goddess community there was a lot of, let's say, anti-men, anti-masculine kind of stuff going on. But it seems to be better now. It seems to be getting more into balance again. But I think that time there was a lot of catching up to do for women.
Right.
Lots of catching up to do for women. And now we're getting to the point that actually the men need to catch up with the women. So it's all kind of coming together.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. That's what's happening. But this is a place where I think you can find that balance.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
And so maybe somebody comes here thinking they're going to tap into the goddess energy, but they wind up finding the green man or Christ or who or whatever that's showing up for them. It's very interesting.
I was on my way to move to a site in a different country altogether, and I'd booked a trip to India beforehand, and I came to Glastonbury again, and as usually I would come around the spring equinox, the time the etheric bell started ringing. It's time to go to Glastonbury, and I stayed at my friend's bed and breakfast, which is behind the door, just behind us here, and I went to bed, switched off the light, pulled the duvet cover, and I hear the Lady of Avalon in my head say, "You are welcome." And instead of moving into this other country, I went to India, came back and moved here, and I've been here ever since. It's been 8 years now since I lived in Glastonbury full time. So that's the sort of medium-sized story about what happened.
So the Lady of Avalon is what?
To me, she is the embodiment of the land here in Avalon. The land is conscious. Obviously the planet is conscious. I'm a shaman. I'm a shamanic practitioner, and for us, everything is consciousness, and that's in my mind how reality works. But the Lady of Avalon, she can take form if she chooses. So oftentimes, if she shows herself as this white lady. It's kind of like a very sort of gentle brushstrokes, gentle drawing of a lady that just arises.
It sounds like from the Mist of Avalon.
Yeah, that sounds a little romantic. This is
does.
more tangible. So no, she's a living energy. She's a living being. She's a consciousness of this place. She's the spirit. She's the guiding spirit of this place.
Yeah.
But then also there's Morgana. She's like the queen of the fairies.
Yes.
I don't think they're married or anything, but she's the high priestess of Avalon. So she's an important.
Yeah. Now is she the same as the Morrigan?
Yeah, she is the Morrigan. She's got different names. Morgana, Morgan. It's all the same actually. Yes. Another myth says that she rules with her 9 sisters, or she's part of the 9 sisters, but they each embody a certain quality or certain, the poetry or dance or whatever.
Yeah.
And together, those 9 sisters, they are, I don't want to say rulers of Avalon, but they do have an important part to play in Avalon for the divine feminine, as I say it. Yeah.
Big pull for the divine feminine here.
Absolutely, yes.
Big pull.
Yeah.
Saint Bridget a Christian name for what some consider to be the embodiment of the Celtic goddess Brigid, came to Glastonbury in the 5th century. St. Brigid's festival is in bulk, February 1st, the date that the entire St. Michael ley line and all of the sacred sites along it orient to sunset. There, on the most famous Glastonbury landmark, the Tor, is a carving depicting Brigid milking her cow. The Tor, a rounded hill to the east side of town with the remains of the St. Michael's Church resting on top, rising up like a nipple on the landscape's breast, has long been the object of speculation. Some say it's a fairy hill. Others argue it's the entryway to the underworld associated with the Celtic lord Gwynap Nudd, or even Morgan Le Fay. Is it a UFO tower, a galactic portal, or an access point to Atlantis? Is it the nucleus of the world's heart chakra? Perhaps it is all of those things and more.
General, but one reference had talked about the landscape being a woman, that with the Tor being the breast and I guess St. Michael's chapel, the nipple on the breast, but basically that the whole land is feminine.
Well, I do agree that the land is feminine and the planet is feminine in my opinion. However, the land here is much more than just that. Mm-hmm. So if you look at Glastonbury and the surrounding area, it's very clear that this was a very, very ancient astronomical observatory. So there are so many things that cannot be by chance. Right. Like for example, so a lot of these mounds, some of them are man-made and some of them have been enhanced. I mean, the Tor has been enhanced. How or when, we don't know. But it is not possible that if you sit on the Burial Hill, which is to us that direction right where you can see, if you look at the west end, if you sit there on sunset and you look at the sun, there's a hill, and now I'm not entirely sure which one it is, in the distance. And the closer to the summer solstice sun you get, the sun just reaches the point of that hill, and then when the summer solstice is gone, it starts retreating. Mm-hmm. And this kind of setup happens over and over again from St. Edmund's Hill, Windmill Hill, St. Edmund's Hill, which was probably a natural hill that was enhanced. If you go there on the winter solstice morning, you can see the sun rise up on the backside of the Tor. It's not possible that this is by chance. Mm-hmm. This whole site has been set up as an astronomical observatory in the very, very ancient times. Yeah. And then, of course, you have the Star Temple of Avalon, the Glastonbury zodiac. So Catherine Maltwood, who's the lady who originated this idea by looking at ancient maps, and the time when she did this, we started having aviation, and she had all of a sudden there was access to looking at things from above, so you could see these outlines of the zodiac figures starting to emerge from the landscape. And that is here, and the land here is very, very living. I mean, Glastonbury is not the only place on the planet where the land is like this. Hawaii is like this, Sedona is like this, Mount Shasta is like this, but it is very, very living, and it's full of codes and keys. And the thing to do here is, when you come to a place like this, is to walk the land. Become that pilgrim, walk the land with the intention of being open and receptive and offering yourself, to be in the service of the land, to engage with the land. And then that information just starts coming through. The land is alive, it starts engaging with you, and maybe she will even show herself as the Lady of Avalon, you know, who knows. But that is the way to, you know, and it's the same, not just here, everywhere. It's the same as you engage with your surroundings as a pilgrim, with like with a pure heart, with an open heart.
Yeah,
you know?
Moving from your heart always, in truth.
Exactly.
That's what I've done for the first day we arrived. I thought I would take a nap because I was a little sleep deprived. And I slept for about an hour.
It's worse this way than the other way.
But I couldn't sleep. I knew I should be tired.
Yeah.
But I almost felt this
urgency,
pulse. It almost felt like a heartbeat, and I had to get up and walk, and I just walked to the top of the tour. And I did have your instructions with me, and I read them, but I was just called to walk to the top of the tour, so that's what I did. And and I haven't had a vehicle, so I've been just walking.
That's the best way.
And just being open to where I need to go and when.
That's the best way.
So that's, as you had even suggested, like feel the difference,
the layers
as you go up.
Yeah.
And there's changes.
Absolutely. So there's the Tor maze that you might have heard about, you know, that you
like the labyrinth.
So it's on different levels. So if you ever just veer out of the main path and go on the side,
I did a couple of times.
Then just go up a level and you'll see that the energy changes. You know, it's kind of like the consciousness raises, you know, almost the energy raises the closer to the top you get.
And that's what we're referring to when we don't know who carved that landscape, or do we?
I don't think we do know. I don't think whether it was the Celts who prepared the labyrinth. We don't know, you know. But we don't even know whether that was at the same time as the astronomical observatory was set in place. The observatory, I believe, is ancient. I mean, it's in a very, very large scale. So you've got, you know, yes, you got the Tor, you got Werial Hill, you got the hillocks there. If you get the Paulden Jenkins map that I suggested,
I'm going to get that in town.
So you see the different hills, and they are part of this. They are part of this observatory. So the Glastonbury zodiac, I think that's, you know, the diameter, because it's sort of circular. So the diameter of that is like 25 kilometers alone. You know, so this is the size of the observatory. You know, whoever did this, and this is not the only like landscape observatory or landscape zodiac, they must have really wanted to chart the solstices and the equinoxes. And I've even heard suggested that the observatory, you can even chart the moon phases here. You know, I don't know how that works in practice. I know the solstices and the equinoxes work because of the observation of the sun.
Right.
But it is quite an incredible, you know, someone must really have wanted to eternalize it into the land.
Right.
You know, why is it so important that this is here?
Do you have a sense of how far back that goes?
I think it's ancient. It's thousands of years. I have no idea. Like, I mean, time is one of those things. Is really flexible, and in places like Glastonbury, places like Avalon is even more flexible. You know, like. You know, like one day goes and you think it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks goes and you think it was one day. You know, it's very, very malleable here.
Right.
You know?
And there's similar stories, I think, with here in Glastonbury and like Mount Shasta, where there's a belief that the Lemurian civilization lives inside the mountain there, on another plane, on another level.
Yeah.
And I've heard different things here about the Tor being hollow and having another dimensional area there.
Absolutely.
So, and space and time, it's all irrelevant, I don't know the right word. It's
So I think in these kind of places on the planet, the access to the other world is easier than in, you know, sort of very built up, you know, town or city, you know.
Well, there's so much to talk about. Did we even talk about chakras?
We didn't. We haven't covered any hard
talk about
chakras.
chakras. Let's just talk about that for a moment. I mean, what is your feeling with Glastonbury as being, chakra means vortex. So this is an palpable energy power place, center.
Yeah.
What do you think about it being a fourth chakra, sixth chakra, whatever?
Well, I think I think quite a lot of writers have agreed, and writers that have, opposing views on where the chakras are and whatever, they've all agreed that this is the heart chakra. And certainly if you look around you, how green United Kingdom is and how green this place is, how lush it is, if you go by the color, definitely that matches.
Yeah.
And definitely, like when we spoke about this being at the place of healing and it not always being an easy place of healing, that would all align with that, with the idea. And Hildegard from Bingen, who was the sort of Christian mystic of 11th century and a polymath in Germany, she talks about viriditas, which is this greening, the energy of the life force, and we even spoke about your mala. Green is the color of a healer. So often healers are our most. Oh, okay.
I told you.
Burnite, yeah. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, that's a nice specimen. But yeah, so she really honed into this energy and this idea, and I really think that there's a lot of merit to it. And
So you feel the heart.
Healing. I feel the heart. Everyone can agree on that this is definitely a place of power, and it's definitely a power of the land. And no matter what tradition you come from, you can come here and walk the land and have experiences. And that's kind of, no one can take that away from you. You have direct first-hand experience.
Right.
So, but yeah, I could go along with the idea that this is the heart chakra, because it is green. It is a place of healing. It's a place of power. It is kind of like a focal point.
Yeah.
Whatever the magical quality of the tour is, I felt drawn to walk it every day that I was in Glastonbury. Even the day I arrived, after an overnight flight with little sleep and about a 3-hour drive through the countryside from London, the first thing I did after checking into my B&B was walk up the tour for sunset. Every day, no matter how many interviews I had, or where I went, or how much I'd already walked, I hiked up to the top of the tour. This just felt imperative. My residency sat at the base of the tour, and even though I usually sleep quite long and deeply, I found myself functioning on about 3 hours of sleep each night, yet feeling quite vibrant every day. It's easy to say that the tour is magical. It is beyond a doubt the most spiritual place in all of Britain where people journey. Many individuals visit Glastonbury. Only a few find their way to Avalon. Of all the things we have discussed in this documentary, I've still not dug into Saint Michael, the Dragon Slayer, and the connection to the red and white dragon lines. I've not talked about what alchemists call the Philosopher's Stone, the secret of creation, and its connection to the red and white springs, to life, death, rebirth, Christ, and the underworld. Nor have we talked much about the Druid connection to Glastonbury and surrounding areas, or even the massive Neolithic age Avebury stone circle, the largest stone circle in the world, and all of the other sacred sites littered all over the English countryside surrounding Glastonbury. We have barely scratched the surface to talk about these astounding places. And don't even get me started with crop circles. George Trevelyan, referred to as the grandfather of the New Age movement, says, "The indications are that Britain is the heart center of the whole earth. We shall find that the whole country is covered with this invisible structure, large and small, interconnected and forming a network. In many cases, man-made buildings will be found, ancient stone shrines and churches, later sited on PowerPoints. But, be it repeated, the heart chakra temple exists in its own right, whether or not mankind has detected or honored it. And let us here stress that the human body, integrally part of the earth organism, is itself a movable temple. For indeed it offers a point into which a droplet of divinity can descend and operate in the density of matter. A new pulse for pilgrimage is stirring." If Glastonbury is truly the epicenter of the heart chakra of the planet, there is no wonder why everything, on every layer and level of consciousness, is drawn here. Whether the planet itself is calling us in to heal, or we are pilgriming there to witness the healing benefits of the loving energy that exudes from the tour, Mother Earth's fourth chakra location does not disappoint.
But it's people like yourself coming in today. You know, that's made my day. You know, two new beautiful souls having a nice conversation is beautiful. You know, earlier I DNA activated a gorgeous lad that's come down from London just off the cuff. You know, no greater gift that he can give to himself. You know, awesome. So this is a beautiful place to be, and I really, really, really would love you to just have the most amazing experience, because Glastonbury can give you so much.
Thank you
and
so much.
And it will exceed your expectation.
Thank you.
So enjoy.
So there's so many things here, and if a place is, you know, places of power have all this, you know, there's something here that triggers this power.
And even just walking through town, of course, now there are so many shops, but whatever tradition, I mean, you have Norse, you have fairy, you have Christian, no matter what, it's downtown.
Everyone's come here because they are attracted by that power. They're attracted by that spiritual energy that is here, and they unconsciously or unconsciously come here for that acceleration. You know, It's very, like, for someone who is in this situation where we are, where we have realized that we are here for this job. And that's what we want to, you know, dedicate our lives to, you know, then why would you be anywhere else, you know? This is the place to be, or Shasta, or Sedona, wherever you personally are called to go. Yeah.
And it is a calling. It's a calling.
Definitely.
Whether you hear the calling, as you said, or whether you feel the calling, know that it's a calling.
But it's a tangible calling, you know.
There's something.
Yeah, exactly.
Undeniable. I must go there. I have to be there. I don't know why. I'll figure it out when I get there.
Exactly. You go there, you show up, and you're in service. You know, I'm here.
How can I help?
Yeah.
What can I do? And sometimes it's just holding space.
Exactly.
So, is there anything else you want to share about the land of Avalon, or?
I don't know. No, I think actually an invitation to people to come here, really, because it's very difficult to express what Avalon is really about.
Yeah.
You have to kind of be here to experience it.
Right.
That's all I can say.
I say that about everything, whether it's yoga practice or travel. It's experiential.
Yes.
Everything is experiential.
Yes.
So you can conceptualize, but that's limiting your understanding and your capacity to really lean into the healing and the reciprocity of healing between you and the earth.
Yeah.
So I think there will be trips here.
Yay.
I think there will be trips here because
Wonderful.
I really feel that this is where many people can heal their hearts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the heart center being the bridge between the lower and the upper chakras, and the ascending and descending currents will have the capacity to move healing into other areas of your being.
Yeah. And it's really important that we start doing this more and more as the world is going through enormous chaos and systems are breaking down. So we need all of our strength, heart strength, to stand, how do you say it, to stay rooted.
Yes.
In all of what's going on around us. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracey.
Such appreciation for your time and your energy, and there will be more.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Glastonbury. Who knew?